They tasted good, but to me they all tasted the same. There's Joe getting pretty in the morning. And Koichi doing the same. We also had a little maintenance issue on our bike. This is our exercise bike was broken when we got up there, so we had to work on it. Here, John and Tony fixing it. And we also had a transfer option. That's the idea is we bring up a bunch of stuff for station and we have to take a bunch of stuff back down. So we have moving things back and forth between the two vehicles. So it's a little different doing that in space and on the ground. Exercise is also a task that we have to do every day. And here Ricky is on the shuttle bike that just got fixed. Joe's on the station bike. And with a little alien floating by. Bruce on the new resistive exercise device that's brought up. He's doing squats. You can do all sorts of wonderful exercises on this new device. Deadlifts. And this for the station crew members, it really does help them in keeping their muscle mass and helping them stop from bone loss. And a treadmill back in the Russian segment. Here's Yuri working on that. Yeah, I'll hand it off to Ricky.
And that's our Los Alamos veteran there, having a lot of fun in space. I'm showing how easy it is to move around, and I'm showing how hard it is to corral M&Ms. That only took about a half hour to get those 3 M&Ms in my mouth. Swanee's showing how easy it is to fly from Japan through the United States and on into Europe without any passport checks. There's John Hart at work again. It wasn't always this much work to drink water, but it was sure the fun way to do it. And this just was endless fascination. This thing came out on its own, right out of our cycle ergometer, our exercise bicycle, and was just floating there while spinning. And we used it for a lot of games. There's another one that we were trying to perfect, which was darts. Tony obviously had his foot over the line on that one. One of the really nice pleasures was looking out the windows in the GEM lab, and here's just a day in space, obviously sped up, but watching the solar alpha rotary joint rotate and track the sun as the Earth passes by underneath, and you'll actually see the sunset here in a second. And the only thing looking out the window during the day that was better looking out the window during the day was looking out at night, the cities at night and thunderstorms and the aurora. And we had the unexpected pleasure of getting a call from the president, and we had some audio with this, but we were fully expecting just a few words from him, and he had a room full of kids there, and we were expecting to spend quite a bit of time talking to the kids. The president did let the kids ask some questions, but he was very excited about what we were doing and seemed very excited to be talking to us, and it was certainly an honor for us to have him take time out of his busy day, busy schedule, and spend some time with us. Senator Nelson is wishing he was back with us. And Sandy, we really had to tear her apart. She was going to make sure that we didn't close the hatch with her on the wrong side. She's saying goodbye. This is actually on flight day 4. She was saying goodbye to Koichi was hard. He was a really valuable member of our crew, just a great guy, and but he's going to do some really good work up there, has done some good work, and so it's time to close the hatch and say goodbye to our friends and get ready to head on home. So I did such a good job pushing that one button that Brew let me push another one a few days later, which separated us from the space station. And you can see Sandy's reflection as she says goodbye to her home after 4.5 months of living and working there.
We have the farewell words from our space station crew. And this was a pretty exciting day, not only because we knew we were coming home, but we knew we'd have a chance to take a glimpse at the solar array that we had just deployed. So now Tony's in the back seat driving, and he'll go ahead and back us away from the space station. It's a pretty awesome view as you're backing away. And again, we were all pretty anxious, crowding around the window, waiting to see the work that we had all done. And the flight control team had it worked out perfectly. You can see some lightning in the background there. But we backed away starting at night, and when we get to about 400 feet, the sun will start to come up, and then we were given this great view. And then from there, Tony starts flying us around the space station. We'll go from about 400 feet, and as we go above the space station, we'll end up at about 600. Again, our flight director was great to have all the solar arrays lined up for us for that wonderful shot. And like Ricky said, you never get tired of looking out the window at that view. And once we get over the top, they start letting the solar arrays do their work. You can see them rotating there. I think we all would have been happy to do maybe 2 or 3 trips around the space station. It was quite a spectacular view. But unfortunately, it is time to come home, and Swanee's getting ready to close the payload bay doors. This kind of marks the end of our orbit operations, and it's time for us to get suited up and get ready for the deorbit burn. The mid-deck crew just getting us ready. Lots of smiles. We're all ready to come home. This guy, I think, smiled for 13 days straight. So we get a few more minutes up in space. Ricky takes that opportunity to get one more flip before we get buckled into our seats. And the flight director had some tough decisions to make that day. The weather wasn't great in Florida, so we had the go here for the deorbit burn. And once we make that decision, there's no choice but to come home. I think there were some pretty enthusiastic people on the other side once we got that word. And you can see the egg timer floating there in the middle as we get ready to do the burn. And there we go. We're starting to come home. And it's amazing how quickly gravity starts to take effect. Here we are at about 0.1 Gs. And now Swanee's over here playing with the clip at about 0.4. And things start to get heavy as you get ready to come home. And Brew, I'll let you take us home.
All right. Well, we're just about ready to land here at the Kennedy Space Center. We had that first wave off a temp, but then the sea breeze blew in and knocked the clouds out of there, and we had a pretty nice day to land. The weather was decent, a little bit windy, but the shuttle flies just fine during the in some turbulence that maybe other aircraft get knocked around on. We touched down the runway around 2,700 foot down the runway, roughly 200 knots, and we popped the chute because it's a matter of procedure. Though that day with those strong headwinds, we really didn't need it. I didn't even come on the brakes till I was already slowed down to 60 knots. Just from the drag of the heavy headwind. And we roll out to the end of the runway. Actually, about 3,000 foot remaining on the runways where we stop because a pretty good size convoy of vehicles is going to come out there and meet us. They'll do some safety checks, and then once the vehicle is checked over clean from the outside, they'll come up and open the hatch and assist us in getting out of our seats. Getting out of your seats for the first time after being in zero gravity for, say, 13 and 14 days like we were is a little bit tricky at first. Takes a little bit of adjustment, a lot more of an adjustment for Sandy, who was up there for 4.5 months. But about a little over an hour and a half after the landing, we're back in our blue flight suits. We do the traditional walk around. You can see how windy it is with our flight suits flapping in the breeze there. And that was our mission. That was pretty much 13 days of our mission, knocked down to about 25 minutes. So we were really happy to share that with you. Unfortunately, we were hoping to take more time for questions and answers, but we had the other appointment this afternoon got moved up on us a little bit. So we have about 2 or 3 minutes, so we can entertain 1 or 2 questions if there's anyone who'd like to have one. Yes, sir. You're the first one. Your hand up in there.
Excuse me, I'm so excited I probably can't talk now. My name is Graham. I live in Manassas, Virginia, and I was one of those thousands of people that was sitting there watching you.